Who Watches the Rewatchers, a Buffy rewatch podcast.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Who Watches the Rewatchers, our Buffy the Vampire Slayer rewatch podcast. I'm Jarrod with my good buddy Alan. We're at Season 2, Episode 14, Innocence. How you doing, Alan?
I'm doing fantastic, my friend. How are you doing?
Oh, good. I will say, last night as I turned on Hulu to watch Buffy, it said it expires in 9 days.
I saw that too.
And I looked it up, and in the Reddit world, people are saying that this has happened before, and I guess that they've renewed their license or whatever, but there's no notion about where it's going or if it'll get renewed. But Angel also had the same notification, so it must be something to do with a licensing company or whatnot. So I might be having to find an alternative source of watching this.
I have an alternative source for you. We'll talk about it offline.
Okay, very good, very good. Do you own all the seasons on DVD?
I do, and I actually bought the set when we started this so that I could make sure I watched all the director commentaries before we saw the specific episodes.
Okay,
and it was cheap on Amazon because, you know, it's such an old series at this point.
Well, it's DVDs. I mean, I mean, I went through all the DVDs with my buddies, but he's got them in his collection now.
Sure.
Well, we are at the, I don't know, I guess at the height of melodrama here in Innocence.
Yeah.
And I was thinking last night as I was watching this that I believe the last episode you mentioned how sometimes the backing soundtrack drives you nuts because it gets schlocky or whatnot.
Yes.
I think this might be the first time, I could be way off, that this certain melancholic theme starts to be played anytime Buffy's sad.
Right.
And as soon as I heard it, it like brought up those emotional sense memories that I was like, oh my gosh, I remember hearing this song when I would watch through these shows before. It's just it sort of kind of creates a bit of like, I don't know, emotional trauma just to hear. It's really in your face. So I don't know. I don't know what you think about that. Yeah.
No, I hear you. Well, okay, so I'll tell you the two things that that I think about this episode, sort of broad strokey, is number one, I find it interesting they called it Innocence because it's actually about the loss or lack thereof. And then and the other broad stroke thing that I wanted to mention is I think, and I might be wrong about this too, that this is either the first really excellently executed one-er of the series, meaning long shot with one camera, or it's definitely the best executed so far.
Okay, well, tell us when we get to that in the narrative, because I'm not sure. I didn't catch that. Well, let's start with the plot. You know, we take off from, this is one of those two-parters. Again, as part of the series has several in a row, as you mentioned. And where we were left last time was that Drusilla, who's super strong now, and Spike, who's really debilitated, have conjured together this big bad character. And the big bad character is called the Judge, and he's so big and bad that no weapon forged is able to kill him. And he was dismembered and sent to the four corners of the world, and now he's been assembled, and he's going to basically bring about the apocalypse, which makes Spike and Drusilla really excited. Now, I thought about it the entire episode. When the Judge, Spike, and Drusilla actually start attacking people, and I thought, this is the dumbest plan ever concocted. Why would a parasitic character and animal as a vampire want to eradicate its entire food source? It makes no real sense, but it doesn't have to. It's just, I thought, that's so dumb. They're just going to get hungry and die. So anyway, but that's what's going to happen, right? And so Buffy and Angel were on the scene in the last episode, and it's scary, and they escape, and it's rainy, so they're cold, so they go to Angel's super chic, super 90s industrial pad, wherever that is, and we know that it's the time that Buffy and Angel first have sex. I believe it seems to indicate that she was actually a virgin. This is like the time.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very end of that episode, in the background, we know that Jenny Calendar's uncle, they are a people group of gypsies. He shows up on the scene to tell us that if he has one moment of real happiness, that Angel will become the vampire angel again and no longer be ensouled. And it was Jenny Calendar's job the whole time to keep them apart. Well, that's all the background for the drama. And you know that this one moment of happiness actually happened as they made love, and now we end with Angel outside in agonizing pain, and Buffy is none the wiser. She's still asleep.
Yep.
The Scooby Gang doesn't know where they are, and they're worried. That's where we're at when we start this episode. Is that a fair kind of bringing
Absolutely.
up to speed? Okay, so where do we begin here?
So actually, there's one point I want to make before we get started. I think that when this aired, and you probably know better than I do, but I believe that when this aired, the episode before this, nobody really understood what was going on with Angel in that last scene. We just knew there was something related to the curse, and we weren't like clear on the whole like he has no soul thing. And I think the opening scene, second, I guess the scene after the opening scene in this one is the one where we figured that out. But I don't know if that's true or not. Do you recall?
I don't recall. I mean, the way it's being told, that's what you're supposed to be thinking about. But they do present it in a way for about, 30 seconds when you first see Angel and Buffy together. It's sort of not quite clear for about the first 30 seconds, I'd say.
I see. Okay.
I think they're just trying to do that twisty thing, and the surprise storytelling a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this episode basically opens on Spike and Drew. Spike is still in the wheelchair. His face is still mangled. They are talking about the fact that they have the judge, and the judge actually comes out, and they do a little bit of pontificating about their current circumstances and what they're expecting to do with it. I don't really have too much more to say about the scene other than, Drew falling on the floor and seeming like she's overwhelmed, and then she kind of smiles at the end of rolling around on the floor. And I think we're supposed to get from that she's aware that something's happened with Angel that she's happy about.
Yes. I tried to watch it in kind of with two different minds, especially when I saw the Spike and Drusilla and this the judge.
The judge.
Yeah. It's both. I have these two thoughts in my mind at the same time. It's both really cheesy and fake, but I really want to watch it because I think the actors commit to it so very, very well.
Yes.
And it's like there's parts where you're just, I don't know, when there's parts of Buffy that have enough heart that when there's cheesy or really just elements that are really unbelievable happen. And I don't mean unbelievable in the fact of like supernatural vampire stuff. I mean like at the end of this episode when Joyce is sitting down with Buffy, I found that so unbelievable that a mom would be talking to her daughter that way on her birthday. But we'll talk about that when we get there.
Okay.
So when those moments happen, there's enough real heart that pulls me through that. And and I'd say most of that heart is exhibited in this episode by a couple people. One, it's Buffy's sorrow, because I really believe her. I absolutely believe Sarah Michelle Gellar when she is putting on the pains of somebody who is being hurt to the core by someone who's trying to hurt her. I also really believe the hurt of Willow. Allison Hannigan, I really, really believe the hurt and awkwardness of Willow in this. I think they carry it, actually. So anyway, yeah, that's how you're right. That's how we open up. And I think the next major bit is it when we see Buffy and Angel together? Or do we go to the library?
There's a small segment after that where there are two things that happen before the library. The first one is that there's a small bit where we see concretely that Angel has gone evil because he's out in the rain and some woman passes by him and says, "Hey, are you okay?" And he jumps up and basically,
Vamps
sucks
out.
her blood. Yeah. And does that thing, and that's where we cut to the opening credits. And then we have like this really short bit where Buffy goes home and Oh, you're right. We do get to the library before the bit that I was thinking, though. We get a bit where Buffy goes home and basically talks to Joyce, and she says, did you have fun last night? And Buffy's like, what? Because she's hoping that her mom doesn't know what she actually did.
Right.
Um, and and she says, oh, at Willow's, and she says, oh yeah, a good time at Willow's or whatever. And you sort of get this really, really clear sense that Buffy is out of sorts. She's confused. She doesn't know what's happening. And
Yeah.
that is, and then after, oh, go ahead, please.
And I love the drama of it, because I think that especially, I don't know if it's the 1990s, but I feel like what I saw of teenage sexuality, there was this was in the same year as a lot of raunchy R-rated like teen coms.
Sure.
And sex was a rite of passage. It was a conquest for boys. And then the Enlightened movies had strong female characters that were like, hey man, we're open. Yeah. We're not going to be conquested. We're going to have our own, and that was about the height of it in my perception. And it could be wrong, but here it is. Like, this is the real vulnerability of, and I wouldn't say just a girl. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, but it's a real vulnerability of like having these deep emotions of love for somebody. And this happens, and and she wants it to happen, and then he's gone. When she wakes up, he's not there, and that there's disorientation, there's confusion, there's a little fear, there's like, hey, then you're insecure, and she's carrying all that around, and then she's also got to go home and see mom. And I think it's just done really, really well. You really feel that something is changed. She's given her emotional depth and her vulnerability away palpably to Angel, and she's a little unsteady about it, right? Because it is a moment, and then like he's gone, right? That's happening. And that's how, and a parallel feeling, that's how all the Scoobies feel as they were at the climax of the last episode. They're now facing down the gun of this big bad villain named the Judge who's going to kill everything, and Angel and Buffy are nowhere to be found. Right. And that's just not like them. And they do say, well, Angel has been known to just disappear, but Buffy hasn't been known to disappear like this. And they're very, very, very worried. And it's interesting because it inserts some drama where, Xander's does he's the heartbeat of the Scoobies, as I often say. And there he is like, hey, let's go mount up. And everyone's like, good idea. Like, how? Like, where are you going to go? And what are you going to do? And there's the typical humorous bickering between him and Cordelia.
Yep.
And Willow's the other one. They want to go mount up. Giles is being more wise and measured about it. And as they are about to storm off, that's when Buffy walks in. And she is still sort of an emotional fugue, sort of malaise, still like wondering. And she's got her own worries. But of course, she's not going to walk in and tell the whole gang, here's what happened last night.
Yeah, right.
So she gives them the story, we had to hide out in the sewer system, basically. We were hiding because it got really bad. And so that sets the scene for everything. Meanwhile, in the background, Jenny Calendar's kind of thinking about things from a little bit more emotional intelligence, because she's got a little bit more knowledge about what's going on and what the dangers are. So she's thinking a bit more deeply. I think that's what I remember.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent breakdown, and I like the way that you're emphasizing the emotional beats. I think that's what they were trying to convey, and I felt a lot of that too. But sometimes I wonder if anybody else is connecting with it. The next scene is Spike and Drew, and then Angel walks in, and this is the scene that contains the one-er that I'm describing. So this is the scene where basically Angel shows up and tells Spike and Drew that he's back, Angelus is back, or however you want to phrase that, and they demonstrate that visually in a fairly clever way with I think this is the whole reason the Judge exists, is so that you have an antagonist who burns through people's souls, and for him to be able to touch Angel and not burn him, so that you can visually see that he doesn't have a soul.
Right. So a couple questions. So Angel comes in, and he's it's everything with the vampires is sort of like flirtatious and they're all playing some mind games with each other. And he's doing that with Spike and Drew.
Right.
But I want to ask that question about where the one-er begins. Right when he walks in, that's the start of the one.
No. It's later than that. It's basically
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. When we get there, I just want to hear it because I'm trying to cue my mind for it. But you're right. That's when that actually does, this part does make the judge seem sort of like a secondary, like just a set piece, right? Like he comes by, like Spike's like, oh yeah, he looks over like he's the bodyguard bouncer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. If this guy could bring destruction to the entire world, he's not a bodyguard bouncer for a guy named Spike, But he comes over and then it's basically saying it's the equivalent to a bodyguard standing in front of the mafia boss or something and patting down a guy and saying, he's clean. So he goes to Angel, like he said, and he goes, he's clean, he's got no soul, right? He's cool, he can pass. Which brings delight to both Spike and Drew. Which I think that the love triangle is the thing that's really interesting because it is very clear that that there's moments of jealousy that emerge for Spike, but that's not how he begins with this. It's like they get the gang back together, but there's clearly been some triangulation in the past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally agreed. Totally agreed. And Angel even has this phrase. He says, "I'm back, baby," to Drew, and implying that there's that sort of relationship. And and you actually see it in Spike's eyes that he's this is one of the few times in these early episodes where I feel like I see Spike being insecure, and really, really well done on the part of the actor.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, I noticed that just as a side kind of observation, that David Boreanaz is smoking a cigarette, a Spike, just to show he really is a bad guy. And he seems like he knows how to smoke a cigarette, which I often note. I'm like, yeah, that character's never smoked a cigarette before. Seems like he knows how to smoke a cigarette.
Sure.
Anyway.
Sure. That's interesting. That's good. Okay, so when we come back from the commercial break is when the one-er begins. And it starts with let's see. It starts with, I'm trying to look up the line. Spike says, is it really true? It's really true. You come home. No more of this. I've got a soul crap, so on and so forth. That's the beginning of the one-er. And it starts with sort of a wide shot, and then Angel walks towards the camera, and we get a really good close up of his face. And then Drew stands up on a table behind him, and we see her being framed by Angel. And then she comes down off the table, and they're kind of dancing around or something. And then she leans over towards Spike, and you get this really good close up of their two heads. And the camera kind of goes in on Spike for a second, and he and Angel have a moment where Angel kisses him on the head, that whole business.
Okay, yes. Now let me ask this question. I know that these single shots, they take a lot of choreography. Probably the most famous one in film is the Godfather or the Goodfellas entrance into the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I have watched movies that were all done in a single take sort of thing, and that's like their shtick. What, if anything, does it really do from a visual storytelling perspective? I mean, I know it takes a lot of effort, and I know it's smooth. It's more smooth. It's less, but does it do anything beyond that in terms of from a viewer perspective? What is it doing in me as I watch it?
So in some instances, I think that it really connects the audience with the material in a visceral way. Like one of my favorite examples to talk about is I can't believe I'm bringing this one up because I'm not a huge fan of the director anymore. But what's that thing called? Cloverfield. Have you seen Cloverfield?
Yeah. Yes. Long time ago. Is that J.J. Abrams?
It is. But written by Drew Goddard. And it's not a all in one shot kind of movie because they break with the camera quite a bit. But every time the camera's on, it's only the one shot because the conceit of it is that you're seeing it all from this guy's camcorder.
Right.
And I think that that's a good example of trying to connect the audience with the material viscerally, and understand that it's a single POV. It has a way of making something feel more real than another. That having been said, if you were asking me about this particular one, I think that it's exercise for Whedon.
Okay.
You know, like I think that, okay, I'll tell you what I know, and then I'll tell you what I think. So what I know is that when Whedon was able to get Buffy off the ground, he hadn't done a significant amount of directing before this. He had done a significant amount of writing before this, but not a significant amount of directing. And I have the opinion that he basically uses the entire Buffy series to kind of figure out how to be a director. And I think that this is a great early example of him trying to figure out this particular style of cinematography. I'm not sure that it does connect from a visual storytelling in a visual storytelling way any more importantly than anything else that's going on in this episode. But I do think it's the first time that he really starts thinking more broadly about cinematic skill sets, you know?
Oh, okay. That's a good, maybe possible theory. Well, it's a theory. It could be possible that that's what he's doing. I do know that he knows how to write or lead in terms of like the story. He knows how to do like, what's the word I don't even know how I'm wanting to describe, but the storytelling methods he deploys, yes. Right? They often have a lot of balance. Like, so he's
yes.
so he's doing one love triangle, and now he's going to cut away to another love triangle.
Mm-hmm.
So the next scene we cut, and we're back at the library, and that's when everyone is still researching for ways to kill the judge.
Yes.
And I love how it, just it's a fun, whimsical world, this Buffyverse. They're in the stacks of the library. These aren't hidden books. These are books on the shelf, and they're just reading, and all about this demonology and all this occultism. And Cordelia's like, look, there's nothing in this book. It's the same, and it's an opportunity for them to repeat the myth about the judge. No weapon forged against him shall kill him. You can,
right.
All this stuff. It's all about how there's no weapon that has ever worked to kill the guy. Right. And she's debating with Xander. Xander's saying, hey, let's make up, let's make out. And, this whole little back and forth happens. And then in the stacks, they do kiss. And when they pull away from smooching, there's Willow looking mortified. Yep. And I got to tell you, I got punched right in the gut when I saw her face.
Yeah, man.
He had been sneaking around, and she goes running. Xander goes after her. And oh man alive, I don't know if they cut from that for a little relief, but the resolution of it, or the resolve to that moment, is he tracks her down in the hallway, and he's like, trying to appeal to her, and she's like, what are you doing? You're the treasurer of the I Hate Cordelia fan club. Or,
I love that
like
line,
that,
by the way.
Yeah. And he's like, it's, not that big of a deal or whatever. And she goes, no, you just prefer to kiss her, someone you hate, over being with me. And it was just heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. And then she ran off. And yeah, I just thought it was really, there is melodrama in this episode that is so 1990s teen melodrama television show. But there are moments where it's like, oh, this is showing some real truth. Sure. And that was part of it. Part of the real truth stuff. Yeah.
So this is the moment where Willow loses her innocence. Up until now, she has believed that she might someday have a chance with Xander, and now she thinks that there is zero chance with Xander.
So you think that you're including the loss of innocence in Willow into that category too? Not simply Buffy, not simply Angel. Maybe not even like knowing about Jenny Calendar. Like there is that the whole, like it's all about revelations, if you will.
Yeah. I think Jenny Calendar is going to be seen to be not innocent. I think that I also think that we're not there yet, but I also think that there's a really, really wonderful bit with Oz where he's not innocent either. He's not just a buddy to Willow. He is in love with her, and he reveals that in the sweetest way possible later on in the episode.
Yeah, no, it's totally his best moment. But let's go from that library scene and move on to Jenny Calendar, who's having the sit down with the wonderful Vincent Schiavelli, who plays Uncle Enos.
Heck yeah.
And we get more exposition here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's more like, hey, if there's one true moment of happiness, his soul will be taken away from him. And that's what we were actually seeing when Angel's in the rain and agony. It's visceral. His soul's being ripped from him, sort of like, right from his chest. And and then from that, boom, we're back at the school where Angel or Angelus, he's the vampire. He shows up, he's acting funky. Actually,
there's one other scene that
have we skipped a major scene
we did skip the scene where Buffy goes to Angel's house and finds him, and then they have this conversation that is just that's the one that is so icky. I understand why you wanted to skip it.
Do you want to talk it through? Do you want me to give it a quick talk through?
Yeah, you give it a quick talk through, and I'll add anything that I think is important.
Well, because I can't believe I skipped that. It is painful. That is the one where there's a little tricky bit with Buffy's there at his place and trying to find him, and we first see David Boreanaz is walking with his shirt off, like he's getting ready for the night, and she says something to him, and he greets her kind of in a typical sort of, hey, how you doing? Like he doesn't seem villainous yet, but she's got that bashful shyness of, hey, this thing just happened and I don't know what's going on with you. So, hey, and she's like, just was worried about you. And he's like, hey, doll, hey, baby, hey, what you talking about? What you worried about? He's got that nonchalant attitude. And the more she presses, the more he just decides to let the tiger out of the cage. And he's basically makes her feel and indicates that what they did was really, well, it was sweet, you tried, but you're nothing special. And she's feeling insecure, presumably she's not expert at having sex even. So like, this is like, for her, it's like, like there's all that stuff wrapped up in it, and you can see her just being gutted. His soul was physically ripped out of his chest that night, but he was metaphorically ripping her soul out right then and there.
Right.
And viewers who really remember well will remember that this is Angel's MO. It's what he did with Drew. He just terrorized her. And if you didn't know it in this scene, Giles or someone will like make it plain, or maybe it's just Angel. Later, they'll actually say, I am going to torment her like I did Drusilla. Like it is what he's going to do. He's going to play with her mind. Like a cat that bats around its prey before the cat eats it. Like that's what he wants to do. So Drusilla and Spike's target with the judge is to kill everybody, and Spike and Angels goes, I just want the Slayer, and I don't want to take her yet. I want to take her after I'm ready, right? And that's the setup. And so any more on that, because it is the ickiest, saddest, hardest bit.
No, the culminating moment of that scene. So they enter the scene sort of slowly, like way slower than I would normally think of seeing a scene. Like it's normally thought of as like a Hollywood faux pas to have people walking in and saying, hey, hello, how are you? All that stuff. But all that stuff happens in the scene. I think specifically because Buffy's been looking for him for so long, and now there he is.
It's the uneasiness factor. They're showing the unease.
But the flip side of it is the way that it ends. They get out of the scene in like the perfect moment, and the perfect moment for how terrible this is Buffy very, very almost desperately telling Angel, "I love you," and him saying back to her, "Love you too."
Yeah, it's all flip. Even as very. It's the emotional measurement or weight is not the same. It's like they're on a seesaw.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to the school now, which is what we were about to get to. His first step in batting around his food is going to be killing her friends. And so he goes to the high school to do that very thing. And basically, Willow and Xander are there. Willow came back. she has this really, really poignant conversation with Xander where she says something to the effect of, I'm back to work on this because there are more important things, but understand that we are not okay and there's something seriously emotionally wrong with you, you know?
Right.
And then Angel shows up.
Yeah, and he's in the shadows, and
Yep.
it's like cut out of like an old school cartoon with like the drug dealer or the bully's like, hey kid, come over here. You know, I'm in the shadows over here. Come over here.
That's right.
Yeah, that's kind of, you know, and that's kind of how it's set up. He's like, hey, why don't you go get somebody else, and why don't you come over here? I got something to show you. It's a thing. It's a special thing. You know, it's just very, yeah. It's like obvious, but
sure.
Yeah. So what happens? Like, is it Willow that goes over there?
It's Willow that goes over there, and then Jenny Calendar shows up, and she says, "Willow, get away from him."
Yeah.
And Willow
Jenny
says, "What?"
knows.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny knows what has gone down. She put 2 and 2 together. Mm-hmm. Oh, last night Buffy and Angel must have done the thing that I was supposed to prohibit them from doing, or prevent them from doing, right? Yeah, and now it's that's, I guess, the unveiling to the rest of the Scoobies one at a time that Angel's evil now.
So Angel vamps out, he grabs Willow. Xander and Jenny are sort of aghast and uncertain what to do. They're standing on the other side of the hallway from him, but thankfully, Buffy enters the building and comes up.
No, Xander has a cross. Xander has a cross.
Okay.
And he creeps up there, right, and holds a cross up to Angel's face and frees Willow. I just want to point out that Xander is always putting himself in harm's way, even for his friends. He's always doing it. So,
right. But he's able to do that because Buffy distracts Angel.
Oh, is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's awesome. So then Angel and Buffy have this moment after Angel flicks Willow away, where there's this sort of forced false intimacy, and it was a really you can just see the hurt, the expression on Buffy's face. I don't even know what to say about it, but when Angel literally casts her aside and she lands on the floor, there's this beat where you just read everything that she's going through on the face. And I'm not usually big on discussing that idea, you know, that you're reading everything on the actor's face, but in this particular scene, super powerful.
Yeah. Like I've already said, she does a great job at it, and it's the thing that keeps going. So, you know, there's some more moments where Buffy has a dream in this episode. Like, she's been having dreams a lot, and there's a dream that she has where Angel indicates that basically, well, I mean, Angel's in the dream. It's kind of weird, but Jenny is there and has a veil on her face, and Jenny knows more. And Buffy knows that from the dream. And so she shows up to the school looking like she's going to murder somebody, Buffy, that is. And she comes bursting into Jenny Calendar's class, and for whatever reason, Giles is in there and all the students. And Buffy confronts her by grabbing her in the throat and tossing her on the desk in front of everybody. Yeah. And everyone runs. And I thought, man, that is alarming. I mean, just thinking about school violence and just what this would have done, this would have gone into lockdown mode.
Yeah, right.
But it's this moment where there's a confrontation between Jenny, Buffy, and Giles, and now she's coming clean with who she really is. And this is the part that's been reading false. Like, we had Jenny Calendar as this like techno pagan who's come alongside of them and is on the side of the goodies, and she always is on the side of the good squad, but then we had to create this backstory that made her seem sort of shifty for a second. It's just a little bit much, I think. But it is what it is, and it leaves everybody some way hurt. And that's the part also that I don't buy, is that they're all that hurt. Like, if she just said, "Hey, look, this is my job, but I became friends with you, and I grew to love you, and you know, hey, that's who I am." I mean, I think that there's pretty much water under the bridge, but you know, everyone's got to be a little hurt, you know.
Yeah, I also think that this is one of those things where Okay, I'm going to back up for a second and say that when I was in art school and specifically studying visual narrative, um, there was a huge debate between the teachers and the students, and I'm saying like some teachers had different ideas and some students had different ideas, and the big debate was, do you write to theme, or do you write the interesting bits and then try to figure out what your theme was and interpose it after the fact, you know? And I think that this that you're talking about right here is a great example of someone writing to theme, and for the most part, it works out. But there are a couple beats that read false because you're trying so hard to write to theme that you are not thinking about things that continuity bits that you've already established. So what's going on in this particular moment, from my perspective, is the writers are trying to show that Jenny Calendar is not innocent. You know, they're trying to say that she has done this terrible thing and she needs to suffer the consequences of doing this terrible thing. It's part of the theme of this episode.
Right.
But to your point, if this happened in real life, I think you're exactly right, that's what would happen. Like, everyone would go, oh, I wish you told us, but we get it, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And that's an interesting question. Do you write to theme, or you do, or you said write to theme or write from theme?
Right. Well, you write what the story you want to tell, then you figure out what the theme is, and then interpose it in particular beats, you know?
Okay.
And I know that Whedon writes to theme. That's structurally part of his process, because I've heard him talk about it in an interview way too many times. Conversely, I would say someone like Brad Meltzer or I'm trying to think of other names, Gaiman, don't. What they do is they write the thing sort of as a first draft and kind of figure out what they like and don't like about it, and then during rewrites they sort of figure out what the theme they were trying to get to is, and then sort of like make sure they're punctuating it throughout, you know?
Yeah, I got you. Okay, that's interesting. Meanwhile, to a lot of this drama going on, Angel is going to continue batting around the prey, and he goes and shows up to Uncle Enyos, wherever he is. And there's a nice surprise moment where Enyos thinks it's Jenny who's walking in, or Buffy, I can't remember who, but he's being rather smug as he's talking with his back turned to the newly entered person.
Yeah.
He turns around, and to his shock, it is Angel.
Yeah.
And then Uncle Enyos is no more.
That's
and
right.
When they go and find the body written in blood on the wall, Angel has written something to torment Buffy even further. What did he write up there? What was on the wall?
I don't remember. You got to tell me, man.
No, I'm asking because I can't recall. It was like, oh my gosh, it was an insult about her sex, basically. Could have been better.
You keep talking about the next thing, and I'll look it up while you're doing that.
It's just more taunting. I mean, it's rather sadistic what he's being. Meanwhile, and the other storyline that's going on is still the question of how they defeat the judge, and they don't really explain much about it. But no weapon forged against him. Must be weapons like swords and spears and maces and whatever weapons through history. The idea is is in their minds. Well, what about a modern weapon? And so they break in. So Xander and Cordelia break into a military base, and they don't. It's so funny. They just kind of they use a storyline from Halloween where Xander was a commando. And apparently, whatever he was, he remembers everything. So they break in, they're confronted by a soldier, and he's able to talk his way out of it, to me, very not unconvincingly. But they end up getting in, and you find out that Cordelia thinks it's kind of cool. And then there's a weird, awkward sex scene bit or sex scene conversation, because Xander says, chicks dig the guns, and then she's like, do chicks really get turned on by guns? He goes, I don't know. Do you? And they go back and forth, and then he goes, what about guys? Do guys get turned on by guns? And Xander goes, I'm 17. I get turned on. I think about sex when I think about linoleum or something like that. really funny, really probably true. And what you find out is that what they really were stealing is a rocket launcher.
Right.
They don't reveal that there, but no weapon forged. Well, has anyone tried a rocket launcher?
Yeah, a newer weapon, right?
Yeah. Meanwhile, Oz and Willow, who drove them there in his party van, are still sitting in the van waiting for Cordelia and Xander. And Willow awkwardly offers, this is the moment that you referenced being sweet. She offers to make out. And Oz is hip to the idea that this might be a ploy to make Xander jealous. And he's like, I sit in class and sometimes I imagine that we're kissing. And he goes, but no, I won't make out with you. She's like, but why? What about what you think about in class? He goes, because in class, when I'm kissing you, you're kissing me. And he goes, and I'm pretty certain you want to kiss me to make Xander upset. Right. And he's like, and then he says, and then she says, like, I'm sorry. And he says, I can wait. Which was a really sweet, I didn't get that all perfect, but yeah.
No, that's the gist. I mean, it's not the exact words because, Oz's delivery is fantastic. But the gist of what's going on there is right. The sentiment is correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So it's very sweet.
By the way, pausing very quickly, the line on the wall was it good for you too?
Was it good for you too? Yeah, he's putting it in her face and everyone else's. So at some point, everyone knows, right? Like she can't even have a private life. And then there's the underlying like father issues with Giles. So now her father figure knows that she's done this thing that she would not want her dad to know. And, it's just, it's now insult to injury, right?
Yep.
So there's the question of like, okay, look, let's go find this judge guy. They walk into their lair. No one's there. Then I say their lair. I mean, Drusilla, Spike's lair.
Yeah, the warehouse. Yeah.
The cool chic warehouse that they can just walk into when they want, I guess. No one's there. And then the question is, where would people be lining up tonight? Because there's got to be a group of people. The Bronze is closed. And that's when Oz goes, well, if I were waiting in line tonight, I know where I'd be. And I guess it's the mall. I don't imagine Oz ever at the mall, but this is the second. Right. This is the second scene in this season where we actually go away from typical sets, and we're now at a mall. And that's when the villainous crew come walking in, and there's this weird moment where the judge is just basically setting bolts through people, and it's going to start killing people en masse.
Yep.
And then they're confronted by Buffy and the Scoobies, and she stands up, and they take out of the box. You find out that what they had stolen was this rocket launcher. No weapon formed against me shall prosper, basically, is what the...
Nice imitation. I like it.
What about this weapon, right? And she just blasts him. And I like that part where the explosion, this was really like really 1990s, especially early 90s, like the explosion, and then Drusilla and Spike go flying forward in slow motion.
Yeah.
And then they roll. It's like a whole like action film for everything that Stallone and Schwarzenegger were in, to Jean-Claude Van Damme and all that.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
So, and then like here's the thing. Now it's a standoff between Buffy and Angel, and it looks like she has every chance to kill him.
Yep.
But she doesn't.
What
does she do instead?
She walks away from him when it's
no.
Oh, what?
No. You got to stick to the theme, man. We're writing the theme here.
All right.
She kicks him in the crotch.
Oh, of course.
Kicking him in the crotch is the thing to do. And she's like, I'll get you later. And now she's kind of playing with him.
Mm-hmm.
And this serves us just to keep him alive. But now she's toying with him in some regard, right?
Yeah. And I will point out very quickly, during this battle, the sprinklers are going off. It's another one of those water metaphor for change moments, because this is where Buffy realizes that their relationship is over, and she's got to move on.
Yeah, and David Boreanaz's hair is wet.
Yeah,
and it's all wet. That's all I got to say about it. It's just really wet, and the whole thing is.
The way Spike would put it, it's the first time it's not sticking up in that puffy, stupid whatever. What does he say about? What does he say about Angel's hair? I don't remember that line exactly.
Yeah, but he pokes fun his hair, which is great. Yeah, and from this beat, Giles begins to drive Buffy home in that car, and I thought of you because we get to see his car again. Whatever kind of car that is, I don't know, but there's a really sweet moment where she's like, I bet you're mad at me. I bet you think less of me. And he's like, absolutely not. He's like, I wish you hadn't done that, but like you were in love, and you know, he whatever he says, it's very emotionally caring for her, and it's not your fault. None of this is your fault.
Yeah.
And and we end with Buffy and Joyce sitting on the couch. Joyce is none the wiser, but it's still Buffy's birthday, and she gets her. This is where I said this is so untrue. She's got a cupcake. She puts a little candle in it, and she goes, "So what'd you do for your birthday?" Like, so kind of passive and uninvolved.
Yeah.
And she tells her to make a wish, and Buffy's like, "I'll just let it burn." And they're watching a movie, and clearly she's depressed, but her mom doesn't ask her anything about it. Just kind of smiles at her. You know, it just didn't ring true. But what it does for us is we feel that emotional alienation that she's feeling.
Sure.
And that's kind of how we wrap that up. And now we have very clearly a new big bad villain, and it's not the judge, which I thought it was funny whenever they say, hey, go pick up the parts and the pieces. We got to keep them separate.
Yeah.
Cordelia's like, we have the worst jobs. And then Oz is like, arm, just pointing, like, there's a piece. Like, so,
that's awesome.
So, yeah, what do you think of this episode, man?
I mean, I think that this is it's a great episode. It's one of the ones that points us in the direction of what a lot of people think of as the best Buffy arc, which is basically from here to the end of this season. I'm not sure that I agree with that. I'll talk about some things that I like a lot when we get to seasons that are I don't know how to say this, less well thought of in the fan community, like season 4 is a season that a lot of the fans like to talk about. They don't like the big bad in that one, but I think that season 4 actually has some of the best individual episodes of any of the seasons. I actually think that season 5 is probably the best, like, overarching big bad thing for me, but we'll get there when we talk about them. A lot of people think that this next set of episodes represent the best the best story arc of the Buffy series. So I think that this one kicks it off in massively cool ways. And I think that they're firing on all cylinders with regards to the emotional connectivity for the piece with the audience, and I think that the cheesy bits that you're pointing out, which are completely fair to point out that they are incredibly cheesy, and there are a lot of cheesy bits in Buffy all the way through. I think they're there as a counterpoint to the drama. Like, if it's always dramatic and you don't have something to sort of make fun of, it starts getting weird, Yeah. My favorite example of that, by the way, where something's so dramatic that it gets weird, is that Ang Lee Hulk movie. Have you ever seen that?
No, most of those movies stink to me, so I don't even try.
Yeah. You definitely don't watch that one. Ang Lee, who's a celebrated Chinese director, made a Hulk movie.
Brokeback Mountain, right?
Yeah, man. Anyway, he made this movie that's beautiful. I mean, The Hulk is a beautiful, beautiful film starring Eric Bana, but there is not a single moment of levity in it, to the point where when I saw it in the theater, there's a moment that is dramatic but weird, and the audience just busted out and laughed because they needed to laugh at some point.
Oh yeah.
And I think that that's a that's an interesting lesson.
Well, listen, I've got this Wikipedia page up, as I like to do.
Bring it on.
And let me tell you, I'm very shocked at what I've seen. Entertainment Weekly's list of the 25 best Whedonverse episodes, right? So that's Buffy, Angel, Firefly, Dollhouse. They put Innocence placed at number 2 on all of it. And I say, not even in this show is it number 2, right? And really, it's a primal. They say it's a primal metaphor for the terrors of sex, as one could imagine, and it showed the audience, the cast, and Whedon himself just how high his little show about dusting vampires could climb. I actually think it's a little too. I just think that the praise I'm reading here is a little too obsessed with the sex component. I think that does that bit very, very well. But I don't think it's that strong. I mean, it's strong, but not that strong. So Vox gave it number 16 out of 144 Buffy episodes. It says, up until this point, it has been smart, charming, and sharply written, but is also goofy and campy, taking on adolescence and its demons. But this has made it an immortal piece of television. This reviewer, Billy Dew, says that the 2 episodes together are outstanding and mark a major turning point in the series. And then he praises David Boreanaz as much better. He's much better as Angelus than Angel. I don't think that's hard. I mean, I think the writing is much better. So I'm not gonna hate on David Boreanaz, but he didn't have much to play with there. Sure. And I think those things are good and everything. Screen Rant named it an episode including some of the best 60 seconds from all 7 seasons. And they specifically at the end when Buffy pulls out that rocket launcher, when it says no weapon can kill him, and Buffy says, that was then, this is now. And they really like that bit. But so it seems to be, according to the Wikipedia thing, one of the more popular episodes. And I don't begrudge that. The emotional weight and depth that is done is, all because of Sarah Michelle Gellar is what's really the gold, I think. But
sure.
Sure. All right, my friend. Anything else before we call it good on this one?
No, man. Just anticipating next week's Phases, which is our first major werewolf episode. I'm really looking forward to talking about that one.
Awesome. Hey, until then, my friend, stay innocent.